If you can hear me, clap once. Hello, hello. Am I coming through? Check 1 2. Check 1 2. Perfect. Awesome. Again, if anyone's tuning into the VOD of this video, please go skip ahead and look at the timer and just jump ahead to when we actually start the stream. But otherwise, welcome everyone. As always, try to make sure hurriedly that that I've got everything sorted out. That I have chat to the side, that I have all the PDFs I need, and everything goes smoothly. Fingers crossed. How's everyone's day? Let's see. Okay. Looking good. Looking good. I imagine today's going to be a bit of a quieter stream. Yeah, we're entering into really busy months lately, and everybody's got something to do, especially on a Monday night. Alright, from chat, hello End King. No, you should hardcore swerve the other players to make the last name Tassium. Thinking about it. Hello Digia A, hello Thumper. Hello Nutrimancer, welcome back you guys. Wolf Bruce, hello Wintry. Day hasn't been great, but hopefully it will get better. I hope so too. Xantherd, potatoes, boiled, baked, mashed. That's what I'm asking you. Which is the best? Which is your preference? Because that's what we're talking about today. Hope you weren't expecting to talk about tabletop RPGs. Today we're talking about potatoes, and potatoes only. Are we baking a potato? We are about to find out. We only have a minute till that question is answered. Do you play a potato? You do not play a potato, but you do play something very closely related to potato. The End King says French fried potatoes with mustard. That's fantastic. I understand that French fries are not called French fries anywhere else in the world. They're called like chips or something, but maybe I'm horribly misinformed. Tabletop ready potato game. That's exactly what it stands for. Do you play a low-end computer? Sometimes it feels like it. All right. And with that, we're going to jump into a live read-through of the game Potato, the tabletop RPG. Let's see if my next page is agreeable. Let's find out. Wonderful. Great. So we'll get to this eventually. But the first thing I want to talk about is the game that we're playing today, which is Potato. Potato is a one-page TTRPG by Oliver Darkshire. Hopefully you guys can see this as well. If you want to support this man, you can go to their Twitter. Their Twitter is right here, at Death by Badger. And you can also go to their Patreon, where they have quite a few games exactly like this of extremely extremely specific topics, I guess would be the way to solve it, would be the way to explain it. And they're all in this very specific style of being on one page, easily digestible, and probably playthroughable within the hour or so. So that's the goal for today, to play this game once through after learning it. And you guys are going to help me, hopefully, if you feel like staying. So that's about it, honestly, in terms of what we have to cover. For whatever reason, my art isn't appearing on the left and right of this. I think Fujitech's glitching tonight, so no visual of Wiv tonight, but otherwise, let's learn about the 11th TTRPG in the 99 More series, Potato. Something very simple. Why I chose this, very specifically the subreddit D&D memes, decided for one day on April 1st that they would change the entire layout of the subreddit to this game, Potato. And they were very random and meaningful discussions about this game and the idea of TTRPGs in general. And it was an interesting time and it caught my attention. And listen, in an hour and a half of these streams usually are. Wow, that was not a sentence. Let me try that again. Usually these streams are about an hour and a half. So whenever I see a one-page RPG, I think that's a pretty reasonable thing to cover in the span of 90 minutes. I know I have covered hundreds pages of TTRPGs before, but I often feel like I'm not getting the full picture, and I feel like it's a disservice to the actual game that I don't cover it in its entirety. Shorter games like this, I could probably get through everything within 10-20 minutes. So we're going to walk through that real quick. Thank you, everybody in chat. I recognize most of your names, so welcome back. As we go into this, let's start at the top and work our way down. Potato. You are a halfling just trying to exist. How relatable. Meanwhile, the Dark Lord rampages across the world. You do not care about this. You are trying to farm potatoes. Because what could a halfling possibly do about it anyway? So this is a game about about just living your life best you can. While the world seems dire, you are simply doing your job. And that's all you really care about. Sailing Master, welcome back. The rules, you have 3 scores: Destiny, which starts at 0, Potatoes, which starts at 0, and Orcs, which start at 0. And these are your Destiny, Potatoes, Orcs modifiers. Not modifiers, I suppose, like progress bars, and I'm guessing these slowly fill up throughout the game. Mash them, boil them. To start the game, you generate a new event by rolling a 6-sided die, d6. Adjust your scores as directed by the table or subtable. Then roll a new event. Keep rolling new events until one of the following occurs. If your destiny score reaches 10, an interfering bard or wizard turns up at your doorstep with a quest, and you are whisked away against your will on an adventure unless you've already been eaten by orcs. If your potato score reaches 10, then you have enough potatoes that you can go underground and not return to the surface until the danger is past. You nestle down into your burrow and enjoy your well-earned rest. If your orc score reaches 0, now I'm understanding, it's been explained to me by the internet that this is a typo and it's supposed to be 10 because you already started 0. You already started orc 0, so technically you can't end the game at orc 0 or reach it, so to speak. If your orc score reaches 10, then orcs finally find your potato farm. Alas, orcs are not so interested in potatoes as they are in eating you, and you end up in a cook pot. So these are our 3 end games, so to speak. We're either whisked away on an adventure, we dig underground until danger has passed, or we are eaten by orcs. And that's basically it. That's the game. And at any point in time, we can remove 1 potato to remove 1 orc. So if we ever feel like the orcs are building up and we're about to be eaten, we can throw a potato to get rid of them. I believe the only modification here is if we go to this side, and this is where we roll the main event, so to speak. If we roll a d6 and get 1 to 2, we're led to an event in the garden, and this table tells us if we roll a d6 again what happens in the garden. And our potato, destiny, or orc goes up or down depending on what we roll. If we roll a 3 or 4 on our initial d6, a knock at the door occurs, and we roll on this table instead. And this is very similar, except different events. It leads to modifiers. Basically, this is other situations that could occur to you. So there's a total of 12 things that could theoretically occur to you. And on a 5 or 6, the world becomes a darker, more dangerous place. From now on, removing an orc costs an additional potato. This is cumulative. I'm guessing this is a commentary on the inevitable rise of inflation in a world based around capitalism. So it'll be harder and harder to remove orcs because it will cost more and more potatoes to do so. And I believe at a certain point, there's no point in trying to remove orcs. You just got to kind of deal and figure out what happens next. And in the garden, we can go through these as they happen. I don't feel like I have to read these individually because we'll probably run into a good number of them on our playthrough of this game. And this is the knock at the door. This is somebody visiting, and we'll handle this as it comes. Now, that's it. We're 10 minutes into the stream. We're 10 minutes into the stream, and that's the game. That's the game. So a lot of Oliver Darkshire's games are exactly like this, incredibly short, incredibly concise, and have a very clear vision. And this is being a potato farmer halfling. So if we want to experience this game in its entirety and give this the full justice of our review, the only way we can do that is to properly play it. Aquila says potion inflation is the true enemy. First of all, welcome back. Second of all, yes, exactly that. So what I did, because this was, I will admit this is not my first read through. This is my second read through because I wanted to be ready for this stream. And I feel like there was only so much to process that it wasn't hard to read it through. So I've set up this. This is a play table on playingcards.io that has all of the modifiers, all the price of potatoes to orcs, and a die that I can roll. And we're gonna do a playthrough and see what happens. Now, to do that, Sailing Master says great stream. Yeah, basically, I could go to sleep right now. Oh my gosh. Let's talk about this. So I need, you know what I need right now? What I need is a name. So my name is going to be a classic long halfling name. So I'm gonna need some suggestions. First part of my name will just be a first name. And then I need a second first name. And then I need a noun and an adjective for my middle name. And then I need... Wait, give me a second. And then I need another adjective. Hear me out. And then a job that ends with "er." And we're going to go with that. So it's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 part name. And I need suggestions. And I'm going to look to chat, and I'm not going to start this game until I have a full and proper name, a respectable, honorable potato farmer name. And I will not take no for an answer. This is the mission. This is the mission. Okay. I'm going to look at the chat right now. Last name, Fluffy Bottom. No, we have a format for the last name. The last name is adjective job that ends with "er." Noun. Okay, so let's see. DigiA says Rufus Ruffalo Wilson. I'll take the Rufus. Rufus will be the first part of the name. So let's go here. First part of the name is Rufus. I'm going to need a second first name. Gila, come on, help me out. Be a little something that's not potato farmer. First name is Rufus. Let's see. A noun is penguin, so I'll save that for the middle name. I need more suggestions. Harpo, I'll take that. Rufus Harpo. Okay, Rufus Harpo, and now I need the middle name is going to be adjective noun. Adjective noun is the dynamic here. Hamwich, Gilbert. Ooh, these are good names. Okay, I'm just gonna chuck in Hamwich. Hamwich doesn't actually fit into. You know what? Hamwich can be part of the middle name. I need an adjective. Give me an adjective, and then I'll attach it to Hamwich. Johnny Jeremiah. We're all full on first names. We got Rufus Harpo. We need we need some adjectives. Give me some adjectives. Come on, guys. We went to grammar classes. We know adjectives. Digger. I can take digger. That's a long job name, but I like digger. Short stack. Powerful. Hamwich is powerful. I do like Hamwich. We're gonna stick with it. Tallest. Okay. Well, there's got to be a lie somewhere in here, and the lie is tall. So it's tall. Hamwich. Dang. You know what? We'll go. He's going to have a hyphenated first name. Harpo Hamwich. Tall. Noun. No. We're gonna do tall ham. Harpo. No, I like Hamwich. I need another noun. I like Hot Stepper. You know what? I'm gonna take that whole last name. Hot Stepper is his last name. I need one more noun. Hamburger. Oh my gosh. Okay. I like Hot Stepper. I do like Hot Stepper. Penguin. Right. We forgot about Penguin. There. This is his name. Today we are playing as the great and honorable Rufus Harpo Hamwich Tall Penguin Hot Stepper. And I feel like that's a fantastic name to settle on. This is, of course, your everyday everyman. Rufus Harpo Hamwich, of course, is the 7th of his name of the Rufus Harpo Hamwich lineage. There have been many before him, his father and his grandfather before him, and then his great-grandmother, and then his great-great-grandfather after that. It's kind of a little zigzag in terms of the family tree. But Rufus Harpo Hamwich Tall Penguin Hot Stepper is most certainly devoted to the craft that has been passed down from generation to generation to generation, and that is potato farming. And despite the world falling to ruin at the hands of dark powers, Rufus Harpo Hamwich Tall Penguin Hot Stepper is committed to his craft and won't be easily dismayed. His goal is to plant enough potatoes that he can live underground and avoid the toils of life. And that sounds awfully morbid, so let me rephrase that. He wants to be away from adventure, away from orcs, and simply live the reasonable life that 6 generations of Rufus Harpo Hamwich Tall Penguin Hot Steppers have done before him. He will not be swayed and he will not be moved. And today, we're going to figure out where his life leads him. Of the Minnesota Hot Steppers, this man is not based in Minnesota. You cannot just place the Harpo Hamwich lineage in Minnesota. That is Nutrimancer. You gotta slow down. There's rules to this. So we're gonna kick this off, and by golly, I'm gonna try to make a cohesive storyline with this character. Sailing Master says the tall penguins are a proud and noble family and have no use for unseemly things like adventures. That's exactly right. Nutrimancer says Fantasy Minnesota. What in the world can you find in Fantasy Minnesota? You tell me what's different about Minnesota and Fantasy Minnesota, and then I'll consider it. But not a moment before then. But we're going to kick the story off, and we're going to do our first roll and see the direction that Rufus Harpo Hamwich Tall Penguin Hot Stepper takes in this life. Let's do it. This time I have water. If you listen to my last stream, I didn't have water, and that's why I kind of rushed the ending, because I was dying. I was physically about to be deceased. But now, with water by my side, I can handle all 90 minutes of this stream. I don't even know if this stream is going to be 90 minutes. It might be shorter than an hour, honestly, if we wrap this up nicely. Let's see. No tall penguins in Minnesota, south of the equator only. Do they grow? I'm just ignorant here. Do they grow potatoes south of the equator? It seemed like a very much European thing, but you're telling me that real Minnesota does not have potatoes and fantasy Minnesota does? How many Minnesota experts are in this chat right now? How much of this audience are experts on the agriculture of Minnesota? Because a lot of you are saying potatoes as if you're so confident. Fantasy Minnesota has a winning pro football team. Ayo. Good call. Potatoes are very American. Yes, they're also Irish. They're also European. That's all I know because I'm West centric and I don't really know much about the rest of the world. But I'm assuming there's potatoes everywhere else. My country in South America is kind of the origin of potatoes. I'll believe that. I can't tell you otherwise where potatoes came from. I did not come into this stream knowledgeable about potatoes. Truly, not at all. Minnesota has fantasy potatoes. Yes, perfect. Wonderful. Fernando, greetings from Panama. Welcome, welcome. I'm from Peru. Perfect. Wow, you guys are all fantastic. You're watching from Peru. That is wild. I have a very close Peruvian friend, and I think you guys are cool. Anyway, let's try our first prompt and jump into this, and we'll see where we go, because let's actually try to play this game. Whew, okay, first roll of the game. I'm going to tap this dice, and we're going to go for it. Can I make this a little bit bigger? No, I can't. Okay, ready? 3, 2, 1, roll. 5. Dang! Immediately, the price of potatoes goes high. This does not bode well. Okay, the potato to orcs it costs 2 potatoes to get rid of orcs. We're immediately ruined. Right from the start. Ask your Peruvian friend if potatoes are Irish. I absolutely will. I'll text them right after this stream. Okay. Immediately we've gone off to a bad start. The price of the value of potatoes has immediately dropped. Next roll. 2. In the garden, and we roll again to see what happens in the garden. In the garden, a hooded stranger lingers outside your farm. +1 destiny. +1 orcs. Well, let's talk this through. Rufus Harpo Handwich Tall Penguin Hot Stepper is out in the fields as he usually is. It is a brisk day, top of March, just getting his fields ready for a good harvest. Do I know what time potatoes are prepped? Not a clue, but in this world, in the fantasy month of March, he's preparing his fields for a wonderful year, and he sees off in the distance. He witnesses a tall, hooded stranger just outside his fences. And he lives in a pretty remote place, remote enough that he knows everybody who lives in a few miles vicinity, and there's no one like this person, quite as tall as this person. But Rufus Harpo Handwich is not from a family of cowards. He marches right up to the stranger and says, "Hello." That's the voice I've settled on. Great. Wonderful. "Hello. I believe you are trespassing on my territory. Is there something I can help you with? If not, you can go on your way." And the hooded stranger looks to him, and you can see beneath the cloak, one of the eyes glows an ominous orange. And you can see beneath the cloak the face of an orc. Sharp tusks pointing upwards, a cruel snout. From the fables that Rufus Harpo Handwich was told from the time he was young, it's so intimidating to see an orc up close. But hop steppers are not cowards. And he stands his ground, and the stranger says, "Autumn quickly approaches. Let it be known we will come in great number. And this land of yours is fertile. Be sure to take care of it for our arrival." He throws his cloak over his shoulder and turns around, walking away into the distance. An ominous message for a farmer, and Rufus digs his feet into his soil and says, "Well, I was going to do that anyway. You weren't going to convince me otherwise." He harumphs and marches back onto his field. There's still 3/4 of it left to flip. Wait, how do you take care of fields? He softens the soil for the seeds that he's going to plant. And that is the first encounter. +1 destiny, +1 orcs. I think that's proper. Let's see here. I play TTRPG. The beat H7 says I play TTRPGs to escape inflation. That's exactly right. Zenther says, how is there a March if not a Minnesota? March and Minnesota are not inclusive to each other. You can have a March and not a Minnesota. Come on. Is it Strider? Is it Strider? It is not Strider. Strider would not come here for potatoes. Till is the word. Thank you so much. Time for the hot stepper battle cry. Run away. He's not a coward. The hot steppers run, but the tall penguins don't. Okay. Plow, till. Thank you guys for knowing more than I do. Wonderful. So that's the first roll, and we'll keep going. 4. A knock at the door. Let's see what we roll here. 5. It's an elf. They're not serious people. Sure. +1 destiny. Great. Wonderful. We step into early April, because there's April in this world too. The planting of seeds is all done, and Rufus Harpo Handwhip is about to make a trip to the market a few miles away to buy some new supplies. His tools and equipment are getting kind of old and rusty, and he's looking for the department stores that have properly taken care of him and his family for many generations. He's looking for some new tools. But as he opens the door, he finds that someone stands before him. Someone not too tall, probably landing around 5.5 feet tall, couldn't possibly be 6 feet, with long pointed ears. He's heard of elves before. There are no elves living in this fantasy world that's definitely not Minnesota. They certainly live deeper in forests, in groves, in mystical places far away from open fields. Elves are a strange folk. But his great-grandmother, Rufus Harpo Handwich IV, always told her children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren that you must be kind to elves, for they are not a serious people. They take things loosely and lightly and travel upon the wind, nomads, so to speak, finding their way across the world and calling no place home. And this elf arrives and says, "Hi, I'm looking for a place to stay for a bit. I don't really have anything to offer you. I have no coin to my name, and my lineage has all but dispersed into the winds farther south. And I chose a different direction, and it led me here. I see you have a wonderful field. Perhaps I could help you there. And in exchange, all I need is a blanket and a spot on your kitchen floor." Now, Rufus Harpo Handwich, tall penguin hot stepper, he is a lot of things, but he is not a miser. He's not cruel, and he recognizes a stranger in need of help, and he says, "Well, listen, this house was only ever built size for one. It used to be much bigger, but since everyone moved out and had their own fields and had to join, and moved to a more urban location, most of my cousins have moved away, so I suppose that there are some extra rooms. You don't need to sleep on the kitchen floor. You could probably take my my older sister's room. She's since left to Fantasy, Wisconsin." And the elf looks overjoyed and says, "This is wonderful. This is such a kindness. I will not forget this moment, and I will be here for as long as you will have me, and until the moment that you don't need me, you don't want me here, I will remain. And I hope that my stay here can be, that I can return that kindness back to you. Quick chat, I need a name. Chat, I need a name. I need a name for this elf, please. I need a first name and a last name, and I need it immediately, because I'm going to keep talking and telling the story, but eventually I'm going to have to say the elf's name, okay? The elf asks the halfling, "Oh, what is your name? I couldn't help but see a lot of names on the front door, so I'm not sure which belongs to you." And he says, "Well, my name is Rufus Harpo Handwich, tall penguin hot stepper the 7th. And you'll do well to remember that, as I'm very proud of it. And the elf says, well, I caught Rufus, and everything else was kind of a blur. So for over the next week, I'll probably learn the rest of it, and I'll rehearse it every night and every day until I can recite it like my own name. And what is your name, strange stranger? Oh, the elf says, my name is, as I look towards chat, my name is Brent Destinio. Brent Destinio Gunthorpe. Brent for short. Okay. Wow, that is certainly a name, Brent Destinio Gunthorpe. I'll carve your name into some sort of hanging plate, and I'll put it on the door that you'll be borrowing, and on the door of the room you'll be borrowing, and we'll learn each other's names in process. How's that sound? Sounds wonderful. Great. And they shake hands, and a strange agreement between strangers is made. And now there's a new person living in this house, who goes by Brent Destinio Gunthorpe. Wonderful. Mighty name. Mighty name. Next scene. As I get some water. This is not boding well because we don't have any potatoes. And we still don't because the price of the value of potatoes continues to drop, as it would cost me three potatoes to get rid of one orc. What happens if I have to? Oh, yeah. Okay. Great. Sure. This is fantastic. This is not going well, guys. This is not going well at all. 1. In the garden. In the garden. We're going to move to our third prompt. In the garden, a hooded stranger lingers outside your farm. Oh, he's back. Okay, he's back. So this is the end of April. This is the end of Fantasy April. Rufus, Harpo Handwich, Tall Penguin, Hotstepper is trying to teach Brent Destinio Gunthorpe how to use a shovel. This elf has not worked a toiling day in his life. He's got some sort of degree in advanced physics, so he could teach you the exact trajectory of which a potato flies, but he could not dig one up if you asked him to. And during this brisk, rainy day in April, again, Rufus sees a hooded stranger lingering just outside his fence, and he walks over and he says, I've told you once, I've told you twice, I will till my field and care for my crops, regardless of if you come or not. And he looks under the hood and sees the same orange-eyed orc stranger. And the stranger says, I simply returned to see if you were doing what I had ordered. It seems you are doing well. You've even hired a help. Good. Very good. Keep up the good work, for we will arrive by autumn. And Rufus says, Sir, where are you staying? That you can visit once a month. Are you staying at a hotel somewhere nearby, or some sort of convenient place like an Airbnb? Or are you simply living in the fields, cold and alone? It's raining today. Perhaps you need a place to stay? And the orc glares at him and says, I would never ask for help from a lowly halfling like you. I am a proud orc, and I will join my brothers and sisters, and we will wait till autumn, till your crops are ready for us to take. Good day, sir. And the orc marches off, too proud to accept any hospitality from a Harpo Hamwich like Rufus. So that is another destiny and another orc. We're not doing well, guys. We're not doing well. We have 0 potatoes. I mean, it's only April. We might have more by the summer. So let's keep working on it. The beat says the end of April. Perfect. Let's roll. 1 in the garden. I swear, if the hooded stranger is still there. 1. Towards the end of April. In the garden. You happily root about all day in your garden and find one potato. We've done it. Rufus and Brent, finally, there's a call in the late afternoon from Brent, calling Rufus out from who's preparing dinner, and he says, "Look, there's a very strange rock here. Maybe it's lucky. Rufus, can you check this out? I found the rock." And Rufus comes out and says, "Brent, there are rocks everywhere. It's a field that they're supposed to be." And he looks and he says, "Oh, it's the first potato of spring. You know what that means, don't you, Brent?" And Brent says, "I have no idea. I would never know what that means." And Rufus says, "Well, the first potato of spring you bring inside and you eat with everyone present, for it signals a good harvest for the rest of the year. Let us toast and be merry. I'll bring out the best dishes, and I'll cook the potato in the ways my ancestors did. And you today will learn why the potato is the greatest of all." Is it a vegetable? Is it a fruit? No, it's like something else. "Of all things grown outdoors." Yes, that's exactly right. Wonderful. Great. Cool. One potato. Let's do it. Let's go, guys. Let's go. Yeah, elves have no idea what potatoes are. Okay. And they eat this increasingly expensive potato, and Brent is enlightened to the wondrous taste that is slightly starchy, slightly salty, but perfectly cooked by a Harpo hand. And let's keep going, because look at that. We got our first potato. All we need are 9 more, and we're cruising. Red Ripple says it's a vegetable. Is it a vegetable, man? Are you sure? Are you positive? You can't tell me nothing. 2, in the garden. Oh, we might get another potato. Let's do this. Let's go. He's back. What are the odds that we roll a 1 and a 3 so many times? +1 destiny. +1 orc. It's the end of April. First day of May, actually. It's the first day of Fantasy May. Feel free to type in chat how you spell May in a fantasy world. Rufus is in his comfort zone. He's in the zone. He's cruising. He knows this harvest is going to be amazing. And on that warm day of May, he looks to the outside of his fields and sees a familiar cloak. And he sighs, shakes his head, and says, "Hello, familiar traveler, you come to my fence once more. Might I ask the means of your visit, or the purpose of your visit?" And the cloaked orc looks to them and says, "I am in need of aid. And it hurts my pride to speak this. But upon leaving your grounds and returning to the campsite of my brothers and sisters, I found that they have since left. And I've wandered these incredibly flat Midwestern fields and have found naught. The orcs have left east, west, south, I'm not sure. But I seem to be alone in this moment." And Rufus hears a grumble from the orc's stomach. And he laughs and he says, "Well, it sounds like Harpo Hamwich hospitality will come into play here. A truce, hooded stranger. For my house of 1 has many rooms, and you can borrow the room of my 3rd oldest brother, who has since departed for the grand city of Fantasy Chicago. Won't you accept the hospitality of a halfling? And perhaps help me in my fields in return? The orc growls. And chat, this is your cue. Chat, this is your cue. You have to name this orc. This orc in 15 seconds is going to have to offer his name, and I'm going to stall for time until he has to. The orc grits his teeth and it says, "It would be against the honor of my family, of my tribe, to live with a halfling. How dare you suggest?" And in that moment, his stomach growls even louder like a roaring jaguar. And he says, and he sighs and he huffs and he says, "A temporary arrangement, a deal for the summer. And of course, by autumn, my brothers and sisters will return and I will join them to take your fields and your harvest." Rufus extends a hand. "Your name, sir." Look to chat. Ooh, I love that. Okay. Oh, there's so many good names. Wait. Let's do that. The name I have earned for myself is Krudash the Amber-Handed. But to those who share a roof with me, you can call me Meadowflower. And Rufus kind of raises an eyebrow and says, "Meadowflower? A wonderful name. Almost halfling in beauty. Please. We're about to eat dinner. Brent Destinio Gunthorpe has found his second potato and he is overjoyed. Let us eat together." And the hooded stranger is welcomed into this halfling home. He inherits the room of the third oldest brother of Rufus Harpo Hamwich the seventh, and the house of halflings has grown to 3. Oh, a lot of people are saying Carl. Listen, you can shorten Krudash to Carl. So it will be Krudash, quotation marks, Carl, the Amber-Handed, aka Meadowflower. Rufus will obviously prefer the name Meadowflower, but the orc will prefer the name Jesseline. Oh, will prefer the name Krudash, the Amber-Handed. Perfect. Wonderful. Nice. Let's keep going. All right, what happens next? 1. In the garden. I swear if it's another hooded stranger, we're just going to do something else. 2. You narrowly avoid a visitor by hiding in a potato sack. Okay. Sure, let's do this. It is now the end of May. Oh, this is 1+1 potato. Oh, fantastic. +1 destiny. Destiny is creeping up on us. It's late at night. Brent has been put on cooking duty. He brings with him many recipes that come from a far off land. And he's surprisingly great at cuisine. Krudash has been helping out with the more laborious tasks, and as much as he'd hate to admit it, has tired himself out for the day. Not used to the toils of the field quite as much as the trials of war. And even working one day on Rufus's field is enough to tire him out. So he has retired for the night, and Rufus finds himself alone by lamplight, caring for the fields closest to his abode, and he hears a rustling in the tall grass nearby. His sharp eyes turn and he peers over the blades of grass, all 3.5 feet tall, and he notices something dashing, swerving through the tall grass as if a shark cutting through waves of ocean. He's heard rumors of this. And just like how Rupus Harpo Handwich Tall Penguin Hot Stepper the fifth taught him, his grandfather, he quickly reaches for a sack nearby, jumps in, and ties it tight. And waits. 1 second, 2 second, 3 second, 4 second, counts until the minute. And he hears a sound of smell of snorting. A creature sniffing the bag that he rests in. It jostles him around, bumps him from side to side. This creature is large, huge even. But Rufus knows the moment he makes any movement, any sound, he will be devoured by whatever this creature is. And he waits. He's rolled like a soccer ball on a green field. He's bumped around, and he's certainly going to wake up and feel all of this in the morning, but he has to make sure he doesn't move. And eventually, assuredly, the creature loses interest. And without ever getting a look of what this creature is, it wanders off back into the tall grass and disappears into the night. What could it have been? Nobody knows. A bell is rung from inside the house. Brent Destinio Gunthorpe has prepared dinner for the evening, and Rufus is called home. Some mysteries stay mysteries. Moonlight says, do you do these often? This is the first notif I've gotten from you and I'm hooked. Yeah. I do this every Monday night, 8:30 p.m. EST. We cover a new TTRPG. We don't usually get into it this quickly. Usually it's a lot more reading, but since this TTRPG is only one page, it's very easily to jump into. But yes, join us every week for a new TTRPG or a playtest coverage of some game, 5e adjacent, things like that. Okay. Golly. Yeah, Aquila says Rufus, Brent, and Meadowflower are becoming an adventuring party. He doesn't want to. He wants to farm potatoes. He wants to farm potatoes. He doesn't want to confront things. He literally just hid from the monster or whatever it was in the tall grass. So if he can avoid destiny, he will. And by golly, he's going to collect potatoes like his life depended on it. It is the end of May, and we continue on this year of harvest. And 5, the price of getting rid of orcs continues to rise. It now costs 4 potatoes to remove 1 mark of orc. We can't even afford to get rid of an orc. We have 2 potatoes and we need 4. This is ridiculous. This is impossible. Capitalism is out of control. Inflation is truly not something we can contain on our lonesome. This is a failing economy. The second I say that, it goes up to 5. As I was speaking, the value of potatoes continues to drop. It is impossible to get rid of any orcs. I mean, listen, from what Meadowflower has said, the orcs have left for the summer. So we don't need to pay them off yet, but this is well beyond our budget to pay off. We only have 2 potatoes, and we need 5 to remove 1 orc. This is out of control. All right, let's roll again. 2. In the garden. 4. Ooh. Dang it! Your field is ravaged in the night by unseen enemies. +1 orc. -1 potatoes. Guys, we're doomed. The odds have gotta be against us. There's no way. There's no way. Oh my gosh. Okay. +1 orc, -1 potato. It is June. Fantasy June. Mid-June. The sun is so high in the sky, and the summers are so harsh in this strange Midwestern field that Rufus finds time to work the fields at night. He sets up a number of lamps, held on tall sticks that would normally hold scarecrows. And he works quietly, diligently, tilling the fields as he's been taught to. Slowly but surely, crops begin to rise. The green stems of whatever grows. Of what do potatoes grow above ground? They don't, right? They just have these little sprouts. Yeah, he's tending to the little sprouts and trusts that the underground soil is taking care of the potatoes. He knows this. He knows this. He is a Harpo ham witch. He's the 7th of the Harpo ham witches. He knows this. But in the night, again, his eyes dart into the middle distance, and he sees through the tall grass these shark-like movements. 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. More than he's ever prepared for. He looks around, he darts his eyes, glance up and down, and he doesn't see any potato sacks nearby. All he has armed in his hand is a shovel, and that's not enough to fend off 4, so he makes a break for it. Dun, 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 dun. Put in whatever battle music you know from Skyrim or Torchlight. Do people play Torchlight still? Or what? Or that all the you know, the chanting people in the Elder Scrolls songs, you know, and the building of the drums, stuff like that. Pull from like the early levels of God of War. Whatever you're hearing in your head, that's what you're hearing, and not this gentle Zelda music. He's running towards the house. He's running. His little steps only carry him so far. He's unfortunately so slow with this little stride. And from the tall grass around him lunges these creatures. I'm gonna turn to chat. Chat, you have to give me 3 animal traits that these creatures have as they jump out of the woods. Currently, dark shadows, large, huge even, all about to feast on whatever Rufus has been tending to for the past couple of days. This is a threat that he has to get rid of right now, or he's going to lose everything. I need animal traits. Chat, you'll hit me with animal traits in 3, 2, 1. Thorax. That's not a trait. That's a bone. Give me. Thorax is not a trait. Is thorax? What is a thorax? Thorax. Thorax is an empty space, fam. It's not even like a... It forms from the thoracic wall. It's not even a... That's not a trait. That's literally an empty space that holds other things. Come on, guys. Come on. Come on, help me out here. Definitely very cute. Winged. Cool. Winged, cute, and what else? What is gobsmacked? I don't know what... Gobsmacked is an expression. It's not a physical trait. Someone, come on. Chat. Hit me with one more physical trait. That's a winged, winged, cute. I need something else to work with. Listen, it'll just be winged and cute if nobody has any other ideas. Careening spines? Careening spines. Okay, thank you, Gizman. It is... Let me repeat for the class. Cute... Very cute. Winged, and careening spines. I need to know what the word careening means. Help me out here, Google. Careening. Move swiftly in an uncontrolled way in an unspecified direction. Oh, so it's like a tilting ship? Amazing. Okay. Okay. Yeah, this has got to be it. This is the only thing that I could imagine. Okay. Coming out of the tall grass, rising to a 6 foot, 7 foot, 8 foot bunch. You can see a singular amorphous blob. It's colored in this dark bluish greenish tinge. It's sickly and swirling and constantly changing and extending from this amorphous blob are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 limbs. Like giant stands that you would use to hold up a tent or something. Lift this slime into the skies almost like some sort of strange daddy long legs, and you can see it lean almost unsteadily so as these giant legs carry it as it stumbles through the grass as if out of control. And Rufus doesn't know how to deal with this, as there's 4 of them just bumping around and running all over the place. One passes just over him as he ducks backwards, Matrix-style Keanu Reeves, bends backwards and looks up at the slime, and it has the cutest face at the bottom. But that's not really important right now. As it slams through all 8 of its legs, stomping on all of his crops. He's crying out, "Don't ruin the fields! Anything but the fields!" And he's like whacking away at their legs and trying to scare them off. They make these cute little sounds when you hit them that sound like Maple Story things don't make sounds. It sounds like little slimes that you hit in Final Fantasy. There's like a little boom kind of sound. That's the sound he's making. And all of this ruckus you hear bursting out of the door. First, you see Meadowflower, aka Crudash, the Amber-Handed, come out with a giant sword he pulls out from his cloak and starts slicing away at these creatures. They all scream, and 3 of them run away. Following right after him is Brent, Destinio, Gunthorpe. I'm remembering these names because he gave them to me. He comes out with just a ladle and just starts whacking at one. He's like, "Get away, please. He works really hard. He works night and day. This is not something you should be ruining." And they scare off 3 of them, and one of them stays behind, grievously injured by the swings of Rufus's shovel. And Rufus looks at the creature and says, "You've ruined my field. This will take weeks to fix. I know you can't understand me. You don't even speak this language, but I'm sorry. I'm assuming your intellect because you're some sort of monster, but I really shouldn't. You might be able to understand me, but odds are you can't. Regardless, you're staying here because you need to heal, and also because you need to help me in my fields and care for and fix everything that you and your siblings have ruined. Do I make myself clear?" The slime with legs kind of gurgles an ambiguous yes or no, and Rufus says, "Good. Stay in the barn, stay there for the night. I'll bring you food in the morning, rest, and you will work within the week. I will ask for your name in a bit of time after chat gives it to me." One word for the name. One word for the name, please. Of this monster. Of this bad daddy long legs slime, so to speak. What a strange monstrosity. Oh, it has wings too. We haven't gotten to that yet. That hasn't happened yet. There's no wings yet, but there will be. We'll get to that eventually. The monster is ushered to the barn to sleep for the night, and it heals for the week as Rufus looks to a destroyed field and sighs. But he's unperturbed. He knows trials and tribulations happen every year, and this year is no different. Gibbles. I like Gibbles. Let's go with Gibbles. Gibbles the tall slime, tent slime, spider slime. Spider slime sounds Longstrosity. Okay, Gibbles the Longstrosity is absolutely the winner. Let's keep that. Okay, so to recap, we're at 5 destiny, 4 orcs, 1 potato. We are Rufus Harpo Handwich Tall Penguin Hot Stepper the 7th, 7th of his name. He's currently housing Brent Destinio Gunthorpe, the elf that has the wandering elf. He's housing Kudrash, aka Core something. I forget what the name was. Kudrash the Amber-Handed, aka Meadowflower, and he's also housing Gibbles the Longstrosity. And that's the residence of the Harpo Handwich household. Let's keep going, keep rolling. 1 in the garden. 5. You trade potatoes for other delicious foodstuffs? -1 potato? This is rigged. This is rigged, Oliver Darkshire. How dare you? There's no way. Why is there so many ways to lose potatoes? Oh my gosh, we're ruined. Fine. It's July. The monster is healed. Brent has given the creature the name Gibbles the Longstrosity, and Rufus is too frustrated to deny that. Turns out, Longstrosities need a lot to eat. And it's not potatoes. And it's not vegetables. Turns out what Longstrosities need to survive to feast on is something that chat will tell me. Chat has to tell me what in the world Gibbles eats, and unfortunately Rufus has to trade a portion of his potato stock to get it. He is resolute in making sure this monster helps him with his fields to recover the stock that he has lost, but he is becoming frustrated that his harvest is not nearly on pace as it usually is in previous years. Maybe it's because he's taking on more people. Maybe because he's distracted. Maybe because he's not cut out to be a Harpo Handwich harvester just like the rest of his lineage, but that's not something to think about right now. He has to feed this creature, and he's feeding this creature marmalade. Thank you, Thumper. Perfect timing. Marmalade. He's traded a lot of potatoes for marmalade. That makes sense for a slime. It makes sense for a slime. Let's keep going. 6. The taxes keep going up. We cannot afford this. We have 0 potatoes for a 6-to-1 orc conversion. This is miserable, guys. 4. A knock at the door. First knock at the door in a while. 4. There are rumors of war in the reaches. You eat some potatoes. How can I go negative? I can go negative. We're in potato debt. We're in potato debt. 2 orc. Guys, we're in potato debt. As much as Rufus Harpo Handwich wants to ignore the consequences of a cruel and unjust world, the rest of the world cannot ignore it. He eventually hears news of many of the local fields nearby closing up shop. Most of the business that leads outside of this fantasy world, very similar to Minnesota, has closed their doors to these farmers. Not willing to risk a trip to pick up all of these supplies and risk being attacked by orc bandits. There is no one willing to travel all the way out to these open fields to buy any of their crops, and are staying in their urban refuges. And Rufus is devastated. Many of the families he's grown up with are moving to greener pastures, metaphorically. They've run out of money, they've run out of customers, and Rufus does his best and pulls from his family treasury to make sure they have enough money to make the trip to wherever they're going. And Rufus Harpo Handwich is many things, but he is most importantly hospitable, and he makes sure he cares for the families that have taken care of him since his very childhood. And he digs through the chests left behind by his family, and he pulls out valuables and trinkets and jewels and emblems and things that have meant things to many people for many generations, but no longer mean anything at all if these people starve. And one by one, he loses the wealth of his family to make sure others have a better life. The denizens of his household recognize his generosity quietly. They know they are recipients of this same kindness and hold a solid amount of respect for Rufus for the price that he makes. And that's that story. Price goes up, it almost doesn't matter anymore. 1. In the garden. In the garden, you narrowly avoid a visitor by hiding a potato sack. +1 potato, +1 destiny. Destiny in orcs is getting pretty darn close. As Meadowflower mentioned the first time they met, towards the end of July, the orcs are starting to return. Rufus finds himself in the fields, always watching over his shoulders, to perhaps spot a stranger that isn't so kind and isn't so amiable. And with increasing frequency, Rufus has to hide and duck under the refuge of his barn door or a nearby barrel as strangers recklessly pass through his fields, pluck whatever they want, and leave. People are desperate, and it's not always orcs that do it. Sometimes he recognizes the faces of these visitors, desperate for food, and he allows them to take what they need. Some visitors are kind and leave something behind, a couple of crops from their own fields, but most are ill-intended. And Rufus sees that there is a mounting desperation, not only of his household, but of the people around him, and fears the day he is driven to action. Next prompt. 3, a knock at the door. 6. Oh, that's so great. A weary day in August, Rufus opens his door and finds a sack of potatoes. He opens his eyes wide. These are not his grown, but of a neighbor many miles down. He lifts the bag and recognizes the emblem emblazoned on the front and says, "They traveled a long way to drop this off." Within the bag comes a note saying that a familiar family, the Florofowl, are moving westward for the betterment of their family, and what remains in this bag is a remnant of the seeds that Rufus's Harpohamwich ancestors gave to them so many years ago. The crop that has sustained not only Rufus's family, but also these Florofowls, rests in this bag. And Rufus recognizes the kindness and remembers the hospitality that has pervaded through their community all this time, and accepts it gratefully. This is not a bag that he will sell on the market one day, but a bag that will feed this new family that has grown within his household. And he makes a mental note, years from now, to visit the Florofowls wherever they may be. Next. 8-1. 4. A knock at the door. 6. More potatoes? Wait, guys, is this the comeback? Is this the comeback? Another sack of potatoes arrives at the door. This time, Rufus recognizes the new bag at his door. And it's not really a new bag. Rufus looks curiously and finds that the potato sack resting at his door is not a stranger's bag, but one of his own. Inside are potatoes harvested, collected maybe. They're very strange in that they're all a little bit different, as if gathered from many places from many people. On the top of the sack, he can see rough claw marks, as if from the tight grip of an orc. He looks into the field and sees Kudrash the amber-handed with their sharp-bladed claws, working quietly in the fields. Walking a bit slower than usual, probably tired from whatever they were working on. Perhaps traveling a great distance and taking potatoes from whoever had them. A favor given is a favor returned. and on the honor of the name of Kudrash. The generosity had to be treated in kind. Rufus silently accepts the gift from the orc. This can certainly sustain them for a bit longer, and perhaps if planted can grow even more for another harvest. But they'll make do with what they have. Maybe not all orcs are problems, he says quietly under his breath. Next prompt. 9-1 odds. 10-1 odds. 1. In the garden. 4. Your field is ravaged in the night by unseen enemies. Towards the top of September, the orc tribes get closer and closer. There are times during the season, swiftly approaching fall, that Rufus looks to a distant corner of his field to notice that all of the soil has been stripped bare. He confronts Meadowflower and says, "Is this the work of your people? You told me all those months ago that the orcs would return for my harvest, and my crops are depleting under my nose. Is this something you have a hand in? And if these are your people, why haven't you left my house and returned to them?" And Meadowflower looks angry and says, "Have I not worked respectfully for you? If my tribe and peoples came back, I would leave with them and finally be rid of the favor I owe you. If these were my people, we would not be talking in this moment, and I would be gone. Is that what you look for? Do you wish to be rid of me, Harpo Hamwich?" And Rufus says, "Respectfully, you have been great. And I did not expect for there to be any camaraderie between us, but forsooth there is. All my life I've been raised to believe that orcs are the bane of halflings. To reap from our harvest without a drop of work. The antithesis of everything we stand for. But perhaps, while remaining in the company of the amber-handed, I'm learning to believe otherwise. My hospitality remains with you, Meadowflower. You may stay as long as you want. You may leave whenever you want. And if your family calls for you, know that perhaps that be the only thing halflings and orcs have in common. That we respect our kin and stay close." Rufus pats Meadowflower on the arm, trying not to think about a fifth of his field being robbed in the night, not sure of who to blame. And he returns to his house. Next. 1. In the garden. We find a potato. Towards the end of September, finally, the harvest is coming to fruition, and a yield is forming, at least in the grounds closest to the house that he has been able to defend all throughout the summer. Potatoes. Potatoes is what it comes down to. And we'll leave it at that, because we should probably keep going. 2. In the garden. You narrowly avoid a visitor by hiding in a potato sack. Again, potato and destiny. The numbers are climbing, guys. We're almost there. We're almost at the end. And surprisingly, we have 5 potatoes. That's way more than I expected at this point in time. Rufus is working in the back of the house. He's cleaning up a lot of his equipment. Some he's putting away for winter that he no longer needs to take care of the fields. And he's tending to them and cleaning them and minding his own business when there is a knock on the door. And Brent Destinio Gunthorpe, the elf that's been... Look at the door. And he goes to the door and he opens it. And you hear a gasp. As Brent Destinio Gunthorpe recognizes a few of his kin. The Destinio Gunthorpe line. 3 more elves. Rufus notices, peering into the doorway. And he hears a conversation strike up. These 3 elves say, "Brent, it has been so long. You wandered northwards when we all went southwards, and we wondered so long where you had went. So we decided to eventually head northward, and lo and behold, we found this place looking for a meal, as we have not eaten in days. Could you please lend us some sort of food?" And Brent pauses and says, "This food is not truly mine to give. It doesn't belong to me, it belongs to the owner of this household. I don't know if this is mine to part with." And the elves look to him and say, "That is so strange. Do you not remember what we were told when we were sent our separate ways? That if we were to find a field of plenty, we would report back, so that more elves can come and make use of the field and harvest the crops for our future. Brent, our forest is dying. We need greener pastures, and it seems you found them. So why do you keep it a secret from us? Why have you not returned home?" And Brent is quiet. And Rufus notices in this moment that there has been a secret Brent has been keeping to himself for this entire time. And Brent says to his brethren elves, "There is still more I need to do here. The harvest is not yet ready for more of our kin to come. I understand the forest suffers, but I cannot let my hosts know what I am working on. Please, depart from here and trust me." Our people will be fed. They look to Brent and they say, "Of course. We will look to the neighboring fields and see if there are any that have been abandoned, and in time we will return. And you will report to our great mother of the plenty you have helped harvest. And we will thank you, and we will be grateful, and you will be greatly lauded. Good day to you, Brent." And they leave. And Brent closes the door and turns back into the kitchen while he works on his dinner. And Rufus notices a quiet sobbing. Perhaps this is a heavy secret to hold for Brent Destinio Gunthorpe. Next stroll. 2. In the garden. 6. Guys, oh my gosh, more potatoes. You burrow into a bumper crop of potatoes. Do you cry with joy? Possibly, yes. Rufus finds, with the help of Gibbles the Longstrosity, he digs deeper than he ever has before, and he finds a hidden root filled with potatoes. And there's a joyous celebration as this reservoir of potatoes is found well beneath the soil, thanks to Gibbles' long, spindly legs. This bodes well. Perhaps the harvest will yield exactly what it intends to, and this year will go exactly as planned. Rufus holds his hands high, praising the blessings of his ancestors. Keep rolling. We can't even pay for this. Keep rolling. Continuing. 2. In the garden. 3. A hooded stranger lingers outside your farm. Okay. It is the end of September. It's just about time to harvest all of their crops and get ready to sell them for the winter. And Rufus, in this time, in this moment, is excited, ecstatic that this is finally going to come to conclusion. And he looks out into the fields and he sees a familiar hood standing by his fence. He walks over confidently to a friend and looks to Meadowflower as they look into the distance. Does something trouble you, Meadowflower? And Meadowflower responds, I've noticed tracks in the neighboring fields. My tribe has returned. They look for harvest, and your field will be in their purview. Rufus Harpo Hamwich, it is time for me to depart. I must go. And I will do my utmost to convince them that the Harpo Hamwich field is desolate and barren and rotted, that there is nothing here to be gained, so they do not turn their eyes towards you. This is the favor repaid, and this is the last time we will be together. Be well, Hot Stepper. May you enjoy your harvest. And Rufus looks to a friendship that has formed over the summer and offers a hand, and they shake the amber handed to the Hamwich. And they part ways. How cruel the amber-handed leaves the Hamwich household and possibly protects it. Oh, Kudrash. Wonderful. Thank you. Okay. We're getting close. It's 878. 878, guys. 2 good potato polls and we're home free. 2 bad polls and we're donezo. Everybody raise your amber hands. Thank you, chat. That's wonderful. 1 in the garden. There's been a lot. I have not gotten many knocks on the door. In the garden. 2. You narrowly avoid a visitor by hiding in the potato sack. +1 destiny, +1 potato. Guys, it's 988. Oh no, it's 988. Okay. It is late September. Rufus is collecting all the potatoes he can, preparing them for market. He's pulling them into sacks. And preparing them, bring them to places that will buy them, afford them. He has to make this treacherous trip to a city that will buy his crops so that he may pay for whatever amenities he needs for the winter. He has to make a preliminary trip to make sure that he still has vendors. So he and Brent journey to a nearby town. Gibbles the monstrosity is properly saddled and carries the cart full of potatoes, and they make their way towards a a road that is much less protected than it has been before. And as they wander down this road, and the shadows of the trees above cast a darkness over their path, Brent Destinio Gunthorpe's ears begin to twitch. He looks to the side, and he quickly pushes Rufus's head down as an arrow zings by through the forest trees. Brent reaches for a potato sack, hands it to Rufus and says, "Quick, hide. I can handle this. You must trust me." And Rufus nods and disappears into one of the potato sacks, cowardly, as he has many times before. And Rufus whispers a spell, and from his wrist he draws a magical blade pulled from his very veins. It twists and forms in the sky with blood and forms and solidifies into a true steel. And a voice calls from the forest. "Just like a true Destinio. Brent Destinio Gunthorpe, you remember your mission. It seems that you have found yourself a proper bounty. You would do well to return that to the Great Mother. We have been watching you, and you have found yourself comfortable. You know that our peoples are a wandering folk. A home is not ours to have. For to revel in the comforts of closed walls, we neglect our mission. To wander and travel and see the harvests that we can return back to our great provider. How dare you seek comforts alone and not care for the greater community?" And Brent responds, steel drawn, and says, "I will claim this harvest with my own reputation. You will not take from me what I have worked months for. You will not claim credit for my efforts, and though from the outside you may think that I have been ignoring my mission, I have simply secured the harvest for her. Do not doubt me, and leave me be. You know nothing of my work." And the voice laughs. It echoes through the forest and the trees and says, "So be it. So be it, Destinio. We will see come the turn of autumn where your allegiance lies." A rustle passes through the trees as the voice disappears. Rufus returns the blade to the veins beneath his skin and sighs. And Rufus climbs out of the sack, and they have a proper conversation of the reason Brent traveled all this way. To search for a harvest to bring back to the forests. To feed a greater power that made him. And though Brent speaks brave words in the company of his own people, he has quietly enjoyed the hospitality offered by Rufus Harpo Hamwich, and does not wish any ruin to become of it. Rufus understands the conflict that comes with this elf, and as always extends a hand of hospitality regardless of how he ended up at Rufus's door. He is there for a purpose, and that purpose might not be what he arrived with. Okay, and with that, if we roll +1 destiny. Rufus is called to a great adventure. If we roll on a 1 in 6 odds +2 potatoes, we yield a great harvest and a happily ever after. And if we somehow get that 1 in 12 odds of +2 orc, this might end in tragedy. With the small amount of people still watching, let's roll. 5, 1. Okay, 1. There is a 3 in 6 odds that this ends right now. Either destiny or potato. Okay, we're hoping for a 6. Everybody, we're hoping for a 6. 3, 2, 1. 1. +1 potato! Let's go! We're 9 potato, 9 destiny, 8 orcs. The end of September yields more crops. This is going as well as it possibly could. We are on track to a successful harvest. And Rufus, Brent, and Gibbles are joyous. They wish they could celebrate with Metaflower, but they have left for the winter. For the autumn. We get one more. There's almost definitely one more roll, and this is over. Unless we get a 4 or a 1 or, there's a couple ways to be done. 6 doesn't really matter. 5 doesn't really matter. 15 to 1 conversion. 4. A knock at the door. Guards, there's a knock at the door. Oh, here we go. A knock at the door. Oh my gosh, this ends. This has to end now, right? There's no way I get a 1 and we get 999. A 2. Oh gosh. There's a knock at the door. Rufus opens it. And he sees not an orc, not an elf, not even a monster. He sees a dwarf. Beings from a far-off land. Of a place much colder, less hospitable to harvest. Massive culture difference from just that alone. The voice calls to Rufus and says, "Is this the Hopstepper household?" And Rufus says, "Certainly is. Can I help you with something?" The dwarf says, "You have found yourself at the crossroads of a number of communities. I keep a close eye on the developments of both the orc tribes and the elven wanderers, and more than one occasion, your name is brought to light. There is an inevitable conflict that will occur between the two communities, and your field will be the center of it. The only way to prevent such a thing is for you to confront them first. I can guide you there. I can lead you safely to both camps, that you may address them as an honorable halfling would. Doing so would require you to leave the comforts of your field, and may be a longer journey than you expect. But if this home means much to you, you'll do well to part from it, if only for a time. And Rufus grits his teeth. He's so close. These potatoes are almost ready for market. With Meadowflower's help, he's avoided the orcs for so long, and in this moment, he realizes that perhaps there are things worth fighting for. He looks to his household and notices an apprehensive elf and a long-legged monster cowering in the barn, and realizes that this home is no longer a home for just one. The home belongs to more than just him. And what he protects now is not his harvest, but his household. Rufus grits his teeth, picks up a sack of potatoes, throws it over his shoulder, and says, "Let's go." And that's it. That's the game. Wow. Rufus Harpo Hanwich Tall Penguin Hot Stepper is led on a grand adventure with the goals to properly mediate between the elven wanderers and the orc tribes, all for the purpose of protecting not only the harvest of his well-earned potatoes, but also the family that he found along the way. And if that's not a story, if that's not tabletop role-playing, then I don't know what is. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. This has certainly been a stream that I did not expect. Again, if you're interested in playing this on your own, single-player tabletop RPG sounds not too bad. We handled this in a little over an hour. Author is Oliver Darkshire. You can find their stuff in the description. And thank you. And if you want to see more of this, tune in next week, and we'll have another game by then. So for all of you guys in chat who stick around, I'm looking at you, Gizmo, Sailing Master, Xanther, Digi, Thumper, and King. Thank you so much. And I will be seeing you hopefully next week if you guys are still here. But if not, so be it. Good night and goodbye. The End King, none of that was pre-written. Just came up with it. I didn't write nothing before streaming, so have a good night. That is a great compliment, though. Thank you.